Hey y'all, what's poppin'? What's poppin'? We back with the wrap up. Yep, the wrap up. So we are here wrapping up Charm season 4. Charm season 4. So as you can see, we have three lovely ladies. But the faces look a little different. So as I concluded with the last wrap up, um, in the season finale of season 3, Prue and Piper got thrown through a wall by Shax, and it was left on a cliffhanger, and Phoebe was down in the underworld. So, as you can see, we have a new sister. So, Prue died. That's how the season opened. Prue died, and we were introduced to a new sister, Miss Rose McGowan. So, y'all may know her from Scream 2. She was in Jawbreaker. Like, Rose is the shit. So, um, but yeah, Rose McGowan joined as a new sister. So we're gonna get into all that. We finna wrap it up. So let's go ahead and dive into it. So season 4 for me as a whole was so much better than season 3. Um it flowed. It was the storylines, although some the Phoebe storyline kind of got on my nerves eventually, but it was a very prominent one. Um Season 4, I don't know if I like it better than season 2. They might be neck and neck. They might be neck and neck for real. I definitely enjoyed season 2, and I definitely enjoyed season 4. So we're gonna go ahead and get into it. So let's start off with Piper, who, if you didn't know, was played by Miss Holly Marie Combs. So at this point, we left off with Piper getting her new power. She can now make things explode with her hands. And so she goes into season 4 with owning her power. Sorry, I hit the mic. Owning her power, getting used to it, getting more familiar with it, learning, getting a lot better control over her power. The role of Piper in this season, um, with all the ladies, it was the shift. So Piper went from the not so knowing, like she was felt so unsure of herself, middle sister, to now at this point she's the older sister. So she became more dominant, more prominent, and she just really took on that older sister role, and she did it very seamlessly. She became less unsure of herself and more like she became the new Prue in a sense. Um, and best believe, I'm sorry, but Piper was just so much more badass, especially once she got the hang of her power. Child, that weak shit that the character had before, child, please. Piper was a motherfucker to be reckoned with, period. So going into her storyline, so there was some episodes where I felt like each sister had their own set of kind of episodes that kind of catered to them and their storyline. And for Piper, immediately it was dealing with the loss of Prue. I felt like she took it harder than Phoebe. She did. It could be for real life reasons. Y'all can go look up that drama child because that was some shit. Excuse my language. I cuss. If this ain't the review for you, then I'm sorry. But they went through some shit off camera's child, which is why Prue left the show. Um, Child, y'all can go read about that drama. We wrapping up the season. She ain't in here. So season 4, Piper. So the first episode that comes to mind, well, they start the season off with her trying to conjure Prue, trying to see um, her spirit self, and she's blocked in every way. She can't do it because she has to be allowed to move on. But going into, I think it's episode 2, Hell Have No Fury. We gotta break out the box set, child, so we can recount these episodes. Yes, episode 2, Hell Have No Fury. So, in that episode, it's really with Piper getting acclimated to Paige, and she just being upset. They I think it was harpies that attacked, and they attacked evil. So Piper became a harpy, and it turned out she was running from her pain. Paige helped her realize it, and then it was a very emotional breakdown at Prue's um, tomb. And yeah, I felt like that was kind of the start of her story arc. Of course, now she's married, so I felt like Piper's storyline kind of took a little bit of a back seat this season. But they didn't shy away from her, because in then Brain Drain, um, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That was episode 6. It was the source got into her mind, and she was kind of a little bit over being a witch, and he kind of tricked her into thinking that she had lost her mind, that she wasn't really a witch. She made it all up to get her to say the relinquishing spell. She almost did it, but the girls came through at the last minute, the girls in Leo, to snap her out of it. So I felt like that really kind of tapped into where she is, because her out of everyone was a little iffy on being a witch anyway, because she felt like it took her mom away. It stopped her from almost getting married. There was a lot of hiccups with being a witch. And so she was the one to get affected by it. So that's why the source targeted her. But she overcame that shit, and it was nothing. Lost and Bound was an episode that aired in January of 2022, where she had to protect this 10-year-old boy. He was a fire starter. And that's kind of where she took on magic the magic mom role. She started to kind of get into a mommy role. Like, she was older sister, kind of mommy role. And she was determined to help that little boy. I don't remember his name. He was a little badass name, but he didn't know how to control his powers, and I think they ended up binding his powers. But yeah, that kind of gave her the whole mommy nurturing role that kind of played into it. And then finally, I think a standout episode for her was Saving Private Leo, where some ghosts from Leo's past came back to haunt him. They wanted to punish him, and baby, she had to take care of her man to help him realize who he is. He is an angel, honey. And it was such an emotional episode by the end, because, Leo's an angel, so he still looks the same. Um, well, when they went to this, it was some type of event where a lot of the war heroes were being honored. They said that he was his Leo Wyatt's grandson, but it was really him. And all these wonderful people had so many wonderful things to say about him. And then it ended with, "Hey, who?" This lady is like, "Who is that?" And she was like, "My hero." I cried. It was such a sweet moment. So kudos to Holly Marie Combs. She did Piper for season 4. I felt like the transition of the character was just flawless. Like, she nailed it. So we're gonna skip to the younger sister, the introduction of Paige Matthews. So in the season opener, the season premiere, Charmed again, we're introduced that there is another sister. So she ended up coming to Prue's funeral. She ended up kind of being around and thinking that, she might be related to them anyway. The source, of course, tried to take her out, but they came together and was charmed again. And then he tried to turn her evil. It was a two-parter episode. It was a really good episode. Tried to turn her evil. Of course, she chose the side of good. And that was the start of her journey. Now, I really feel the first part of the season was such a focus on Paige, and just really kind of, it was almost like they were trying to make us like her. Like, let me just give her as much screen time and issues and storylines as possible so they love this character. And it low key worked. The evolution of Paige's character, she went from being iffy to being curious. And when she got curious, she got curious. Like, so with her, um, I put Hell Have No Fury because she was the one that kind of helped Piper realize what she was really mad at, which was Prue for being gone. But going into Enter the Demon, where she did this spell where her also Hell Have No Fury, she did this spell where it backfired and she got big boobs. And it was funny. But in Enter the Demon, she did this potion where it swapped her and Phoebe's bodies. um then in Size Matters, she got this chill from this house. It turns out there was this demon in there that was shrinking people, mostly women, and then putting them in clay and cooking them alive and making them live figurines. So she ended up having Phoebe go check it out. Phoebe got trapped, and her and Piper had to kind of come to a middle ground to save the day. So that one was a big one. Shout out to Robert Englund. Freddy Krueger was in there. Um, a Night to Remember. I love this episode. Um, was it one of my top? It wasn't, because it was a really good episode, but it wasn't my top five. I love, y'all know I love an episode where they go back in time where Paige was the focus again. Um, they went to her past life where she was an evil enchantress. I love that episode. We got to see Leo be a little bit more aggressive. It was a really good episode. I like A Night to Remember. A Page from the Past, where she went back in time to revisit the death of her adoptive family. And excuse me. It was an emotional episode because she had to relive where her parents died in a car accident and she thought she could change it. She couldn't. But it was also at the episode where they brought her parents back and they told her that she was proud of her. They told her they were proud of her, and she was a troubled kid. So, child, it was a grace, by the grace of God, she came out alive. Then towards the end, Bite Me, where she became a vampire. So she had a lot of breakout moments. I felt like they really force fed us Paige. To like, bitch, she ain't going nowhere. Here she is. Y'all need to love her now. So I felt it was a good season. She has some good standout moments and she has some really good episodes. Now, on to the main event. Y'all know Phoebe is my favorite, but I honestly feel like season three of her meeting Cole and finding out he was Balthazar and all of that was really the start of her storyline with him, because throughout season four, she had to deal with now having a love interest who is half demon, who's being hunted, to becoming the middle sister and having to kind of play the middle ground between the older sister and the younger sister. She had a whole transition in this season. Um, into kind of a woman. Um, she ended up getting married and everything. But we're gonna start. So I think Black is Cold was a good episode for her. That's where they encountered Cole's past, where he killed a witch's. I don't even know if she was a witch, but he killed this lady's husband. He didn't even remember doing it. But they used a power stripping potion, and so he was no longer half demon. So he was fully human. So that was the start of it. And you would think, okay, they both human. He ended up proposing to her. So things was just moving along. It came like, okay, this could be really something. But as it goes on, she also had other little standout moments where what was this? Trial by Magic was a good episode with the rat demons. And she had to do jury duty. And to prove a man's innocence, she had to summon the dead. She had to summon his dead wife, who he was accused of murdering. That was a good episode. It was kind of her coming into her witch self. There was another episode where she they had to, oh, it was like the spirits or something. They got infected. Oh Lord, where this lady was angry, wanted to kill her boss Elise, and then Phoebe ended up writing the column, and they ended up hiring Phoebe, and now she's as Phoebe, which that started in this season, her advice column. So at this point, she accepts Cole's proposal, and she kind of makes a turnaround. Now she has a career, she has a fiance. Baby, she changed that hair, made it darker. Baby, she got them little uneven bangs, but it was still cute. Like Phoebe became a woman, honey. So that haircut actually premiered in Three Faces of Phoebe. Oh my God. So in this episode, she questioned whether she should marry Cole. Um, at this point, Cole had resumed his demonic sides, but as the source. And she questioned whether she should marry him. So she wrote a spell, and it actually brought her younger self and her older self to the present. And it just kind of reminded her of the love that she wanted and where she could end up. And so the older self didn't spill the beans that he was the source. She let her make her own decision. So that was a really good episode. Merry Go Round was her wedding episode. Um, it was so chaotic. Um, I don't know where all them people came from because I ain't even know the bitch had friends like that. But the whole wedding was sabotaged by Cole because he needed the seer told him that he needed to get her married in like a dark priest setting. So like in a cemetery and all of this, he had to taste her blood. It was really demonic. So he sabotaged it, kind of put it off on Paige. Like he ruined the wedding dress, made Phoebe disappear, but she thought it was all Paige. At the end of it, they ended up getting married in the cemetery, child. She ended up cutting her finger on like a rose or something, and he drank the blood. It was real demonic, child. He was the source. Long live the wizard, or we're off to see the wizard. Yep, we're off to see the wizard. Aired in April. So now we're winding down to the end of the season. This is where Piper and Paige are kind of on to the fact that Cole is demonic again. Phoebe finds out she's pregnant. And this is a really important episode because Phoebe finds out that Cole is the source. And she decides to stand by her man, honey. And she decides she's going to be the queen, which leads into Long Live the Queen, where she's the queen of the underworld. She's vanquishing demons, but not quite. Well, she's saving innocence, and she's trying to play both sides. And it was rough. Like she couldn't do it, child. She ended up getting upset over this tonic that the seer and Cole was making her drink. It was poisoning her with evil. She went with it. So she joined her sisters to vanquish him. Now, that episode was really, really hard because I don't know why I connected with it so emotionally. Maybe because she's my favorite character. But in that episode, at the end, when she had to really sacrificed for the greater good. That end episode where she was crying and her sisters came and lay with her in the bed, I cry every time. That was an episode for your ass. Then we moved into Womb Raider because she was pregnant. It was a demonic baby. Womb Raider was a really, really good episode. The seer ended up taking the baby and then they vanquished the seer. And that was it for Phoebe. So overall, season 4 had a lot of highlights, and I love how I was able, not really so much, or maybe I just didn't think that way, but I felt like this season kind of had its episodes for each sisters, and then collectively, and it told a story because all those stories, as you can kind of see, kind of tie in together, but there can only be five. There can only be five. So my number 5 episode of here it is of the season was We're Off to See the Wizard because that was the episode where Phoebe found out the truth and she still stuck by her man even though it was a fucked up situation. Like she chose her man, she chose her husband, she was pregnant. What y'all expect her to do? Like her dick was more important. And y'all know Cole fine. Like that was my favorite episode. Cause baby, when she went and picked up that grimoire, and then Paige was like, "Oh wait, only evil can pick it up," and she was like, "Exactly." Bitch, I gagged. I gagged. That was number 5. Number 4 was the season premiere, Charmed Again, because Charmed Again was such an emotional episode when because this is kind of where I started off fresh with it. Originally watching it, I picked up on the series originally as it was airing in season 3. So I didn't know what was going to happen. So it started with Piper trying to bring Prue back, Phoebe trying to keep shit together, and then we introducing this new chick. I didn't know how I was going to like her. I ended up loving Paige. Um, it was just good. So to give y'all a background, because I didn't really talk about it, but Paige was a result of their mother Patty had an affair with her white lighter Sam. They fell in love and they had a baby that they told no one about. Well, they told Grams, and they gave her up. They put her at some church place. It was like a place with nuns or something, and it said that they just wanted her to have a P name. So it was a really good episode. Paige got to see their mom for the first time at the end of the episode and hug her. It was so amazing. That was a really good episode. I enjoyed it. It didn't feel like 2 hours. So, which is funny because my number 3 pick is the season finale. Which Way Now? Now, Which Way Now was a perfect way to round out the season because so much happened in season 4 that it was like, which way now, bitch? Like Piper can't really get pregnant. Phoebe done went through marriage, divorce, well, marriage, killing your demonic ex, getting rid of your demonic baby, having your baby stolen. And now it's like, and then Paige coming into her new witchcraft. So they were presented with the opportunity to forego their charmed destinies after vanquishing the source 3 times. Um, was it 3? I think it was 3. They said 3. They said 3, but who's counting? It was because the seer had became the source and they vanquished her. Okay. So the angel of destiny came to them they would forego their magic, they would live normal lives, demons would stop coming after them, but they wouldn't be witches. And the book would pass on to some future descendant. So of course you would think, well, no, they wouldn't want to do that, but after the season that they had and the years they've had, like they was ready to give up them powers, child. um the last thing they had to do was help this man save get this girl who was supposed to be a witch hunter, but it turned out that he was the witch hunter. Really good episode, really intense. I'm sorry I spoiled it. Watch it anyway. There was a lot of little things that happened in that episode I won't disclose, but Cole wasn't fully gone. He was in the demonic wasteland. He actually ended up helping Phoebe in the end. And they ultimately decided not to get rid of their powers and remain witches. And then it ended. I'll get into that in a minute because I think that's a good way to finish this episode. So number 2, Womb Raider. Oh my God! So that was when the seer was trying to take Phoebe baby. She ended up taking the baby. They came together as the Power of 3 and vanquished all the council leaders, everyone with the Power of 3 spell. Um, I love that episode because it showed, I felt like it wasn't just like, oh damn, someone took my baby. Phoebe got to see that something wasn't right with this pregnancy. Like that baby was evil. It was the source reincarnated. So the seer took the baby. Her and Paige had a moment where because Paige was on Nicole the whole time, baby, and he was trying to make Paige look like she was crazy. Paige got to jokingly say, I told you so. It was a beautiful sister moment. So, really good episode. My number 1 favorite episode in the season, though, was Charmed and Dangerous. Charmed and Dangerous was when the original source made a plan to attack the sisters. But it was foreseen that he would lose. So he went and took the Hollow, which is this magic entity that absorbs all magic, good or evil. It just swallows and swallows and swallows, so there's nothing. So he took the hollow into himself. So anytime one of the sisters would use their powers, it would absorb their power. So he got Piper's power, he got Paige's power, and he was about to vanquish Phoebe, but Cole intervened because he also took in the hollow and absorbed the source's power when the source tried to use his power on him. So that's how they were able to vanquish the source. And because of that, the source went into, he already had his power. So the source went into Cole. And that's how he became the new source. So overall, a really good season. It ended beautifully. And this is why I waited to the end. So the season ended with the angel of destiny telling the three sisters, well, no matter which choice you would have made, it wouldn't have affected Piper and Leo's personal destiny. And Piper was like, what do you mean? She was like, he was like, you'll find out soon enough. And then he left and Phoebe got it. So it was announced that Piper was pregnant. She had been trying pretty much all season. Her and Leo had battles about binding powers, not binding powers. Like it was a lot. She didn't think she could get pregnant because of all the blows and damages to her abdomen, but she was pregnant. And it was such a beautiful scene. I watched it 3 times and I cried like a baby. That was like my favorite scene of the season. It was the bonding, it showed the bonding that they had as sisters, and it was such a beautiful way to close out the season. So thank you for wrapping up Charm season 4 with me. Um, I really, really enjoyed this season. I really did. And I can't wait to start season 5. I blurted that out, but I can't wait. I love season 5. And yeah, so thank you so much. Remember, your day hits different when your vibes are positive because I am the sun. I am the air. I am heaven and I need to be loved just like everybody else does. Bye.